Welcome to Loudenvielle, nestled in the French Pyrenees. We're here at the EDR, the Enduro World Cup, looking at what hot tech we can find around the pit. So it's 2 days before the race. Everyone's just still getting set up, getting their bikes dialed in for practice tomorrow. We're going to look for some custom stuff, paint jobs, suspension, anything else we can find. So we better get walking around the paddocks and see what's out there. I'm here with Corey Watson's Nukeproof Mega 290 Carbon, and the thing that really pops out about this bike is the paint job. It's this two-tone, like silver and red, just integrates really well with all his chrome and polished Nukeproof finishing bits. So the vast majority of the components on this bike are Nukeproof Horizon in-house. So the grips, bars, stem, saddle, wheel set and pedals, all Nukeproof. The rest of it is SRAM and RockShox. So it's a 160mm travel frame, size medium, with 170mm ZEB forks, SRAM XX drivetrain, Code Ultimate brakes and crankset. And the only other stuff on the bike is toe peak, it's a pump and a little tool integrated in the crank spindle. And apart from that, it's just all Nukeproof, works really well together. We've had a chat to him about just setup, and it's all pretty standard. Like for the year, he'll just get it set up and leave it and adjust it a little bit in terms of suspension pressures and rebound speed. So here in Loudenvielle, he's running quite a fast, soft setup for just the slick roots and stuff in the trees, just trying to keep that contact on the ground and balancing it with the bike park stages up at the top, so not too soft for the fast jumps and berms. And apart from that, it's Michelin tyres front and rear. It's full 29 setup, this bike. Another shiny frame that caught my eye over here. Now, we don't know who this actually belongs to. The mechanics, the team riders aren't here to help us. There's no stickers on it, but it is a Sunn Kern, fully polished up, hydroformed aluminium tubing frame that is definitely one that's going to pop out in the woods. So we thought, you guys love polished bikes. Let's show you this one. It's got full Shimano XTR, brakes, drivetrain, a pro dropper post, Suntour suspension front and rear, and then of course for a French brand, Mavic wheels, Tharsis bars, so cockpit, bars and stem, and yeah, it's just a pretty cool looking frame, some really interesting cambers like in the head tube. There's like a big valley that's been hydroformed, so I'll show you a few of those details, and also the linkage, the suspension is super neat, the way that the kind of the lines add up together and the way that integrates the suspension moves is something that's pretty cool. We see it on their carbon frames as well that they're going to be racing. Here at Cannondale factory, we've grabbed Ella Conolly's Cannondale Jekyll, so I'm here with Carlos, the mechanic, because the wheels are another little custom bit that we've found for you, little shiny hubs and spokes, and they're actually aluminium, which is Ella's choice. If you could tell us why she's choosing the custom aluminium wheels and talk us through this hollow spokes as well.
Yeah, she chose to ride aluminium rims because they are not as stiff as carbon wheels, and as well this is a custom build, so she has the aluminium rim with aluminum spokes, and she chooses to ride this blue that looks pretty insane, yeah, to be honest.
And would she choose the aluminium wheels for the whole season, or is it just for particular races?
No, she rides always the aluminium rims, yeah.
Is this the same for your other riders as well, or just Ella?
No, actually, Max, the other rider on the team, chooses to ride carbon wheels. Okay. He likes it better when it's a little stiffer. So yeah. Every rider has his own.
Is there anything else that Ella would do on this bike for setup that's maybe different to the standard like production bike, or it's pretty stock apart from that?
It's pretty stock, to be honest. She likes to try different things every time we ride on a race, but it's pretty stock, to be honest. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for talking us through. It's not strictly enduro tech, but this trek session at Kade Edwards, we couldn't walk past without showing you guys this custom Project One paint job. It's unreal, and apparently he's got some kit coming to match. So it's start off base colour on the aluminium is the white, they've put the red paint on, they've laid up the blue. This is in-house at Trek, sanded it down, and one bit's gone a little bit deep, and then laid a lacquer over the top to see this just unreal frame. Just a small thing I've seen here on Eleonora Farina's Mondraker Enduro bike is this custom Allure saddle. They told us this was actually like an original custom one-off. They got made up for a trade show, and it's actually been put into production now because it's caught so many people's eyes, including us at GMBN. It's just this nice little fabric detail on the saddle. It really pops out with the yellow and grey paint. So I've got one of the fastest bikes in the paddock now. This is Jack Moir's YT Capra, which is a full 29. It's a 170mm travel front and rear, RockShox suspension. And the reason we've grabbed it to show you guys today is this new colorway. He's got a nice little Moi Moi TV graphic up by the head tube, and it's this sort of off custard color which does pop out against the trees here. I want to get into a little bit of detail about the new RockShox shock in a minute, but just sort of run over the bike. He's got DC Swiss wheel set, as I said before, RockShox forks, Renthal bars and stem, Ergon saddle, ODI grips, and some Crank Brothers Mallet DH pedals. So he's running the downhill version of the pedal rather than the Mallet E Enduro, and a RockShox little fender that's pretty small, but it's getting a little bit slick here in Loudenvielle, so he probably needs that for the wet trails. The thing about the shock that's interesting is it's basically just come out as a new Vivid. This is the Vivid Ultimate RC2T, so it's the T, it stands for threshold. I think it's got a pedaling platform. They also do a DH, a downhill version without that adjustability, and they've got this new, it's called touchdown system, and it really affects, so you've got low and high speed compression damping, and this kind of takes it off in the top of the stroke, so it gives you a really smooth, like buttery top bit of the travel before the compression damping begins to kick in a bit more, so you get further into the stroke. And I think this is something we're seeing more and more of in forks and shocks development, as well as the difference between high speed and low speed compression damping. You also have different damping at different points in the stroke, which allows you to really fine tune the way your suspension ramps. And it's coming from a lot of brands. I think we've seen it in the Öhlins cross country suspension as well. And it's the new thing that's going to kind of bleed down into consumer, as well. This is a consumer's products, but it's really pushing the next bit of suspension. The next bike that kind of popped out at us with a nice custom touch is this Specialized Enduro. It's from Specialized Gravity Teams, Estelle Charles, and it's got this amazing kind of vinyl camouflage, maybe underwater plants wrap on it, and that's why we walked over to have a look at it and see if there's any other details on the bike that kind of jumped out at us. One thing she's got as well is a nice little custom mudguard fender, and a few other touches on the bike as well that are pretty sort of neat and clearly set up for racing. The Renthal grips are really soft and tacky, but wrapped with wire, which is something you tend to see in the gravity side of things a little bit more. And talking of tacky, she's got a new Specialized Butcher tyre on that it honestly feels like the compound's going to come away on your fingers. Other things on the bike, she's got RockShox Lyrics, forks, Super Deluxe Ultimate Coil Shock, SRAM XO1, so not the newest SRAM, but the XO1 Axis drivetrain, and Look X-Track N-Rage Enduro pedals, which isn't something I've seen a lot of in these paddocks actually. You've got Renthal cockpit, Specialized saddle, and Rover wheels, and a very pretty frame. So we've managed to get hold of Jesse Melamed's Canyon Strive. Now, he was the overall winner at last year's Enduro World Series, which has become the EDR, the Enduro World Cup. And it's a pretty special looking bike. One of the main things and why we came over initially was these red RockShox Zeb forks, which are currently, that's a custom thing. That's only for him. It's reminiscent of the red boxers that we see now as a production model, and historically that's been their thing. So to see it on the single crown Zeb is pretty eye-catching and pretty cool. And that is partnered up with a RockShox Vivid, one of the new Vivid rear shocks that's just come out, and that's giving 160 mil of travel on the rear of this bike, all connected with the shapeshifter technology up here on the bars. So it has a couple of different modes you can switch between, and there's a few interesting little bits on this bike that it's not the most polished, the most shiny, but they're nice to look at. One of the first ones that caught my eye is actually on the dropper lever. His mechanic has taken an Axis shifter button off, drilled a hole in it, and drilled it onto the Axis post dropper, so he's got a little bit of a less reach for his thumb. He's got some emery, some sandpaper on the shapeshifter suspension lockout lever, and then that's all paired up with SRAM XX Axis drivetrain with a power meter as well. And then the other two things that sort of custom are on the Axis post. So you can see it's actually mounted backwards, and SRAM have made up some special rail clamps, so they don't have to file them down as much, because if this is fully down and then they're using all the suspension, it's going to bottom out on the rear tyre. So they've managed to flip this around and get it reversed, all tucked out of the way. He's also got, because this isn't available on a Canyon Strive at the moment, only on the Spectral as stock, the KIS steering damper, which the idea was that Jesse was going to put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, and figure it out. Apparently he's just put it on and left it on the whole time. So he's clearly figuring that out. And the other thing that I've just noticed, maybe this is a common combination. It's not something I've seen. He's got an Assegai Max's front tyre paired with a shorty on the rear, which is much more of like a downhill spike. So it's showing that they're expecting some sloppy conditions here in Loudenvielle. It has just been raining and now it's drying up, so it's sort of that tricky, changeable conditions. So interested to see if anyone else is running a shorty and how they get on with that. Other things, now I wanted to ask his mechanic about the brakes on this bike because we were doing another bike check earlier and the mechanic said, you can't show the brakes. And these guys, they didn't say you can't show the brakes, but they said, I don't know what to say about them. So it's something that SRAM are cooking up in their black box. That may be coming out to you guys soon. We're just going to have to sort of keep our eyes open about that one. But yeah, it's a really, really just neat, well put together little bike this. He's actually got Mallet E pedals as well, something I noticed. A lot of the guys have got Mallet DH, the standard downhill Crank Brothers pedals. Jesse's got the Mallet E's, which are a little bit lighter and a little bit of a smaller profile platform to avoid fouling on rocks and that kind of thing. And then hand guards in case he's fouling on trees. And yeah, there we go, guys. One of the custom paint jobs that has caught our eye here, it's not one of the big pro teams, but it is Thomas's very specialised stump jumper Evo. And this paint job, I mean, how could we walk past it? It's based off a stump jumper from 1998, one of the original retro amazing colourways we used to see nearly 25 years ago actually, in fact. And here it is, brought up to speed, brought up to 2023 geometry and components and everything else. He's racing it this weekend in Loudenvielle. I mean, look at this, just unreal, with a matching bottle as well, and then the clashing of the coil shock of the Olins. It's just perfect. I love it. As always, thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know in the comments what your favourite custom paint job was today, or one of the cool little techie bits that we've seen. We're going to keep our eyes peeled for the rest of the weekend, see what else we can find, and see you next time.